to start this. This is Friday. I'm gonna make bread tomorrow, so it's like 5:30 in the evening. I just fed the starter. I took it down to about 75 grams, and then I added 50 grams of about 60 grams of water and about 75 grams of flour. So it's starting to do its thing here. Before I go to bed, I like to do it around 10:30 or so. I'll feed it another 100 grams of flour and about 80 grams of water. And so that way it's still on the rise when I get it in the morning. But I found that works really well because when I smell it just before I start to use it in the morning, it has that really nice floury odor. It doesn't smell like just flour and water mixed together. It smells like something. So that's the first step, the real first step of starting making bread, or at least in my experience. I'm not an expert, obviously. All right, it is 9:45 in the morning on a Saturday. Time to make some bread. I've got my flour out. I'm gonna do half and half. I do 730 grams of flour because I've found that that's the right size that works for my pan. So I divide that in half and I do half all-purpose white flour, unbleached, 365 grams of this, and then 365 of my wheat. Now I gotta make sure the white is more of a filler. I found. I think the wheat does a lot of the bulk of the work. So if I put like a touch more wheat than white, it's not gonna hurt anything. This is loaf 31. I've done this 31 times now, and I'm just starting to figure out the best way to do this. And not necessarily the best way, but a methodology that works for me. That doesn't mean that this is the right way. It doesn't mean that I have like some sort of an exclusive whatever, but it does mean that I can make a loaf of bread that actually looks like a loaf of bread, and that actually tastes very good. That even my wife now is like, "You're gonna make more bread, right?" So, mixing this up, and of course, the second I start, hey Zoe, girl, what are you doing? I start working, and Zoe's been sitting here the whole time. But when I start talking and not paying attention to her, she starts biting on stuff and chewing on it. There we go. All right. I like to warm my water up in the fridge because I keep it out on the counter. So instead of it being like 72 degrees, I want it to be around 105, 110 maybe. It'll cool off pretty quickly once it touches this. Once it touches the cool flour, and the temperatures even out a little bit. But I found that warm is works a little bit better. Warmth is the key, not heat. The only time we worry about heat is when we're actually putting it in the oven, which won't be. It's 9:45. Hopefully, I'll be putting in the oven around 4. It's a Saturday, so the only thing I'm doing today is this and keeping the dogs entertained. This part is just physical. It's not anything. I mean, you could do it with a mixer, but then you don't have the feel for it. I prefer to just do it like this and actually feel where the dough is, and I have a better idea of what I'm doing and what stage the dough is in, and I can actually, if I need to adjust anything, which hopefully I shouldn't, but you never know. Today the weather is pretty nice. The humidity's creeping back up, so I don't know how much that's going to affect this. I had a really good one on a very, very dry morning, and I've had a good one on a very humid morning, so I don't know how much the weather affects it. I know it does, but I think it's more the temperature, which today is supposed to be rather warm. I think it's going to get into the low 80s today. It's the end of October, so we hit a slight some cool weather last week, and now it's back up to seasonal. So I don't know how much the weather plays a factor in it. I mean, I'm not making this bread outside, and in here I tend to keep the house mid 70s, low 70s sometimes. Especially this time of year, it's easier to get down to the house cool when it's not 100 degrees outside. So letting it sit for a moment and washing your hands of all this goo, taking all this gunk off your hands and putting it where it should be, does help it when you let it rest for a moment. But I mean, this whole process, all it is doing something and then waiting. It's a lot like fishing in as much as that you just have to have everything ready and then you go and then you wait. But this still feels rather warm, which is what I want. I want to keep it warm. When I notice when you keep this thing warm the whole process, it just acts better and it comes out a little bit better. So this is in great shape. You just gotta beat it down really good. So this is a greased bowl. I'm gonna take out, see how it comes together like that? That's exactly what I want. It's a great start to this dough. It is 2 minutes before 10 o'clock. So I'm gonna, it's already starting to smooth out. Almost getting that little bit of a, almost jiggly. When we add the starter, it'll get jigglier. But this is set. We're gonna put this in here, let it sit for an hour. Then we'll move on to doing our starter and our salt. But everything looks good so far. Doesn't smell bad, but it doesn't smell like much yet. We're gonna now we're gonna put the things in that give it the flavor. The first step is making a structure, and this part is making a flavor. At least that's how I put it together. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. I just patched all of this together via learning it, basically doing it. And of course, YouTube videos. 15 grams of salt. I'm going to take this and mix it all together. This won't take too long, but I'm trying to do, I wish I had something else to put this on. Starter. I fed it around 11 o'clock last night, so just under 12, like minutes under 12 hours. I think between 8 and 13 hours seems to be a really good spot for my starter for some reason. So get a nice big old heap. Doing not a lot more water, but a significant amount of flour, I should say, more than water. It keeps it a little dry, makes those air bubbles bigger. I'm not sure if that helps at all, but it does. When you open it, you get that little waft of like sweet smell. It smells a little bit sweet and has that really nice bread odor to it already. So I think that does help. Added the starter in, and this starter, with my hands being a little wet too to get the starter out, has made this thing exactly as wet as you'd hope it'd be. So that my concern of it being a bit dry, I knew I didn't have to really worry about it because the starter will compensate. Because it will from time to time make it look like you've incorporated, like especially with the salt. You think the salt's incorporated, and then you put your hands in it and you feel like a blob of salt, and you go, oh. It's always good to just break it up, make sure everything is integrated in. Integration is the key. About 5 minutes has elapsed. It's already incorporated really well. So I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, and I think we'll be done with this step. It's coming along really well. Some days it just feels like it comes together better. I don't know how much of that is just the weather, the ingredients, and how much of that is just me having a better feel for how everything works, and I can get to where I need to be quicker, or at least more efficiently. We're getting close. We're about 10 minutes in. So 10 minutes really seems to be the sweet spot. It's not, it's a lot of work to get to the 10 minutes, but looks good, it feels good, has a nice odor to it now. So, grabbing it. If you can stretch it like that, and it doesn't really rip anymore, you're in pretty good shape. So, starter, salt integrated into our autolyse. That step is completely done. Still really tacky, as you can see, but that's not that big of a deal. Has a tiny bit of jiggle in it, which is good. That jiggle will get better over the next few folds, but it's 11:11 now. I'm going to cover this up and give it an hour rest, and then then we'll start on the folds. We'll need to do 3 of those, 1 each hour. So, like I said, a lot of it is like 15 minutes of heavy work. Actually, only the first 2 steps. It's like 15 minutes of heavy work, and then you rest. And then the rest are just folds, which are really quick. So now this guy's got to rest, and we'll be back in an hour. On to the first fold. It looks good, it smells good. It's still kind of squishy and nice, the way I need it to be. So now it's sat here. Now it's 12:26 right now. So it's been a while since that first time where I showed you where it pulled and I ripped it, right? Now I'm going to squat down to be in more frame. There we go. See how much further I can get it? It's just like that, and the bread starts to transform, the dough starts to transform more. I'm already feeling little air bubbles in it. Keep my hand nice and wet. If you introduce some more moisture into it, I mean, you're not pouring a cup of water into it, but you have wet hands, and then you introduce that much water into it. You're not, I mean, maybe a teaspoon at the most. It needs it, so it's good, but it's already folding really well. It's really nice and strong. If you can hold it up like this and it doesn't rip, it means you're in good shape. So that fold went super well. That was the first fold. We have 2 more to go. Gonna let this rest for another hour. It's very airy, very jiggly. I think it's in good shape. I think got 2 more to go. We're in good shape. I think everything looks right and feels right. No, this is the second fold. It's spread out a lot. I wonder if I put it in something with like a glass pan. I already have too many things, but if I put it in a glass pan, would it grow out or grow? It does anyway. All right, we're looking good. It smells nice now. It's starting to have a different odor already. So my hand's nice and wet. has that more of a hollow sound. It has a nice amount of air. It jiggles really well. I don't know how well it shows up on the camera, but believe me, it jiggles quite a bit. So that means there's a lot of air. It's very moist. Feels really good. Has a nice odor to it. One more fold. I think we're in really good shape. I think this is going to be a good loaf. Third and final fold. It's got big air bubbles in there. I don't know how well you could see that on camera, but big air bubbles. Oh, that was one right there. I just popped one. Looks good. And that's what we're looking for. Nice and flexible. Okay, it's very airy, very fluffy. I don't know how well you can, maybe you can see a little bit better. I noticed the last time I took video of it, my shaking, you couldn't really tell. But very jiggly, very airy. Should put another fold for doing that. Cute. Always remember to slap it. Feels real nice. All right. Looks really good. Smells really nice. Wow. Sometimes it just comes together and you get lucky. So it's 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm going to cover it with saran wrap, then let it sit in the oven. I meant to turn the oven on for like a little bit, so it'll be really warm in there. But I'm going to put the light on, leave it in there for a couple hours. Then I think it'll puff up real nice. So we're in good shape. And I decided to give it more time. Also, I have things to do. The dogs needed to eat and get walked. But this sucker rose a lot. Like it's above the pan already. So, oven is preheating. I'm gonna wrap it in aluminum foil. I'm like crazed by it. Look at that. And it'll be I'm gonna have to make a big tent for it, I think. Anyway, wrap it up. Put it in the oven once it gets to temperature, and wow, this thing looks really great. thing's gonna be big, so I'm just gonna, or I hope will be big actually. So I'm just gonna throw this weird, I hate to call it a Hail Mary, but it's like a, I was thinking about this, I was like, well, I have 2 of these pans, just put one on top of the other and then sort of seal it with aluminum foil, not seal it, but tighten it up. So now it has an entire pan's worth of space to expand, hopefully. I mean, I had a really good streak. Maybe I should kind of knock it over. No, this may work, it may not. I don't know. Do it. This is, I mean, everything else I've gotten, not, I hate to say good because I'm not good at it, but I mean, I've gotten more proficient than I started out as. Making this aluminum tent, I cannot do. I cannot do for the life of me. I just can't get it right. So, legitimate call, if somebody has like a video or a way to do it and wants to show me, I'll gladly watch and take notes. Anyway, oven's warming. This guy's looking up. Well, the bread itself look okay, but this is leaves stuff that leaves something to be desired. Anyway, just waiting to warm up and then we'll go in the oven. This is the, it's a big experiment. I've been thinking about it. I put it in the oven, it feels okay, feels mostly solid. But we'll see if this works. Ideally we'd want it nice and sealed, so that way all the steam will get, the water will get trapped and turn into steam, and that'll make it rise. It's already risen a decent amount. It's risen maybe 1/4 of an inch. Maybe even a little bit more. It's above the top of the pan. I've had whole loaves that have baked that the top was at the top of the pan. So to have it rise to there, it's really good. I'm hoping it's a good sign at least. So in the oven, now we wait again. Holy cow. Oh my goodness. Ooh. "31 times I've done this. And it is the first time I've made a loaf that's just the biggest loaf. Let's just take a look. Look how tall it is. Screen for a second. Look how tall it is. Look at that. It's doubled in size about. That's incredible. Wow. Okay. So everything looks great. I need to put a timer on for about 20 minutes to brown it up. Wow. Got it even this time. A lot of them have been kind of leaning one way or the other. But look at that. Oh, hold on. Camera's all crooked. Okay. Look at that. Nice and big. Good color on it. It smells really nice. Let's pop it out of here. Really good looking loaf. Look how tall it is. It's split kind of weird at the top, but it almost looks like I did it that way, which is cool. But yeah, real pretty loaf. All right. So everything is done. Now we just, the last wait. It is 7:54 in the evening. The Astros have just won their game. And now I can let this thing sit. With what time it is, I'll probably end up not doing anything until the morning. So let it completely get cool. But I mean, this one looks really great. All right. It's the next morning. The bread looks really nice. Smells good. Feels good. Nice and hollow. All right. The looks good. All right, looks good. Has nice air pockets to it. It's a good size. It smells nice. It's a real nice toasty flavor. The sour is really nice. So, as much as looking like one of the best breads I've made, it also tastes really good. So, I'm gonna make some toast and have breakfast.